Now, everything you see here in this flyer has been identified as an aspect of white culture and whiteness. And these things are usually spoken of in the derogatory. Some of them are things that I think, honestly, actually, I would say most of this really comes down to what they're identifying as whiteness is really just what you would call general American values. And I think, listening to these people talk about this, that's really what their problem is, which is also why, people of color who don't agree with them can be afflicted with this affliction of whiteness. But in this particular video, what I'm really trying to nail down and focus, because it's very important that people think about this, is this part here in the center that identifies emphasis on the scientific method, objective, critical, linear thinking as an aspect of whiteness. This is really important because they are discouraging students from following, basically objective, critical, linear thinking and encouraging them instead to value the anecdotal experiences of people of color without question, as long as they're people of color, of course, who have not been demonically possessed by whiteness, and follow the authorities of the, critical race theory to the letter, embrace your sin, self-flagellate yourself in front of everybody to atone. Those are all the things that they demand of you. But getting back to the main point, what kind of person benefits by demonizing and essentially rendering as blasphemy rational, linear thinking and the scientific method? People who don't have your best interest in mind. And the church, during the course of the Inquisitions and the witch hunts, was really just trying to retain power. And they resented scientists, and the reason why was because science was encroaching on their power. Now, before we begin, I'm going to give you just a little bit of a brief background on what exactly was taking place. They at Evergreen College had an annual tradition of what they call a day of absence, where the people of color would not show up to kind of demonstrate to people on campus, what their contribution is. And it was usually a time to reflect on, the contributions of people of color, among other things. And so basically the controversy started when they suggested, well, this year we want white people not to come to campus. And while they didn't make it necessarily a requirement, although over the course of the Boyce documentary you will see that some of the faculty have said that they were going to make it a requirement of their white students. They did, however, kind of indicate through pressure that if you didn't participate in this, then this would label you as a non-ally white person. I'm putting this up here so that if you want to take the time to read the email, it's available to you. You can pause it. I'm not going to read all of it. But they are going to go over this a little bit in their conversation that's going to lead to my point. But that's the point of it, is that, after refusing to participate in this day of absence, a mob showed up at his classroom and confronted him, and the witch hunt began. This conversation we're looking at here is only a small piece of what went on in the witch hunt, but this is the best example that I can find of what happens when they just finally go ahead and spit out, oh yeah, we don't like critical and rational thinking. That's whiteness.
You need to make an apology for emails that you sent and how they've affected students on campus. Because regardless of what you think the truth in those emails were, those emails had a very direct effect on people, and you need to own that.
Listen, I believe I've heard what you have to say. I don't believe you've heard me.
I just think you come in and comment.
Okay, those emails do not say what you think they say.
Then why is there this pervasive feeling on campus that they do?
Well, you have studied your history, and you know that there are processes that take people over, right? There are things that happen at a witch burning, there are things that happen at a lynching, there are things that happen...
Do you think this is a witch hunt against you?
Well, I think this is a witch hunt, and I think I am the designated witch for the night, yes. Okay?
Yeah, he He's made himself a target because he spoke out against something that nobody's really willing to talk about.
And I would, thank you, I would point out that a key feature of this dynamic is that there can be no visible diversity of opinion, which means that anybody who expresses another opinion, whether it be right or wrong, has to be stigmatized sufficiently powerfully that everybody else knows to shut up.
Exactly. No, I don't think that's the, there's not that silencing aspect.
Can I ask you a question? What? Put yourself in my shoes first. Imagine sitting in that room, listening to people chanting.
Dude, you laughed the whole time.
I did. I laughed.
You didn't give a shit about anything.
He didn't.
How
He
do you
never
know?
laughed at all.
You don't know me.
I fucking saw you.
Okay.
You were right in front of me, dude.
Okay, you think you know what
Oh,
you saw.
dude, you're gonna use your rational bullshit. Fuck you, dude. You're gonna use your rational bullshit. Fuck you, dude.
Like, all colors shouldn't be asking white people to leave campus for day about it.
What I said was that there's a
I
fundamental.
wasn't talking to her.
Yeah.
So I don't want
And I'm trying to answer you in good faith. What I said was that there is a fundamental difference between a population deciding to absent itself from campus and a population deciding to absent another population from campus. I still believe that that is true. That is not anti-black, it is not anti-POC, it is pro-equity. I stand for equity. Nobody understands that because they've read those emails through a particular lens. You are looking for evidence of
I don't think you
racism.
understand what equity is in the context that you're using it. It sounds like you're talking about equality.
Why did you not just shut the fuck up?
Okay? Let me give you the answer to that. The answer to that is, I do not believe that we can get to rational answers if there's no diversity of opinion, and that what is happening is that a system to penalize those with different opinions has emerged so that it appears that we have consensus, which we don't.
How we're treated.
We were having a good conversation.
This is bullshit! Hey, you don't need to talk to your
You know, let's go ahead.
It doesn't matter. Don't talk to him.
I've been noticing a lot of black people in black books who are like directly talking to this man. Where the fuck are all you white people? Where the fuck are your voices in this? Because you, as white people, are perpetrating white supremacy. And so is this man. Where the fuck are all of you at? As our allies, as our helplessness. Shut the fuck up. I am not referring to you. I'm referring to all of these people that are my allies. Where the fuck are you?
I was just having a private conversation with
I'm
this
not
guy.
talking to you.
I
I'm
don't
talking
even
to the
know
white
him.
people. Where are you?
Huh? I don't know the guy. I just want to get to know him. That's all. I've noticed that he's been targeted and whatnot, or he's been bad guy to people, and I'm like, hey, everybody sees that to him. I mean, I want to get to know the guy. He looks like a cool guy to hang out with.
This is what I'm asking. Dialogue. It's not so tough.
We're just having a private conversation.
What? 1491 describes the state of the New World prior to European conquest. My point is, he's telling me that I need to understand something about other populations.
That's not what I said. I said you need to stop demanding that everybody use logic and reason and white forms of knowledge to fucking prove yourself in the world. That's not what I said. I said you need to stop demanding that everybody use logic and reason and white forms of knowledge to fucking prove yourself in the world.